Welcome to Connecting to Spirit with Stacey, a weekly journey into the spiritual world with Evidential Medium Stacey Niedentohl. With nearly 10 years of experience offering transformative private, group, and platform readings, Stacey is also a passionate mentor, guiding students for over 5 years to unlock their intuitive gifts. She is the author of 2 impactful books, My Head Knows, But My Heart Still Hurts, a 30-day grief recovery journal, and My Crystal Addiction Diary, an exploration of crystal and stone energy for healing. So please welcome the host of Connecting to Spirit, Stacey Niedentohl.
Hi, how's everybody doing tonight? I am Evidential Medium Stacey Niedenthal, and this is Connecting to Spirit, where we spend about an hour of time every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Bold Brave Media. And we talk about things that maybe you're not comfortable in talking with other people about, whether it's meditation or past life regressions or just how to connect with your higher consciousness. And tonight I have a very special guest. I have someone that I met a few years ago who had some things happening in her home. So, welcome Stacey Haynes, aka Nasty Bob from Bob Rocks. You know, we talked earlier, and I was trying to think, has it been like 4 years since we met?
Probably, yeah,
Yeah,
'cause
yeah, it's been a little while. I came into the radio station to do a commercial and everybody was saying to me, "Oh, you have to go in and meet Stacey." I don't know if you're called a DJ now, on air talent, or just, master of all. Because you had some things going on. And when I walked into like your booth, I instantly felt like a presence of someone and I heard a name. I don't remember what the name was. And you didn't know it at that time. And then later you called me. Do you remember about that?
and was I forget how the name was, but it was related with my grandmother or my great grandmother somehow.
Yeah. Yeah, I believe it was your mom's grandmother or something. You had called me later. And then we got to talking.
Her middle or something that they called her as a child or something, and it connected, and I was just like, yeah.
Yeah. And then the more we got to talking, there were some things that were going bump in the night at your house that we talked about. What was going on?
There was a lot, and I've always been open to the world of unknown. I never was a full believer to say until I moved into this house, because then I was like, okay, it's actually happening and experiencing it. So it really has brought my mind wider. Um, Moved up here to Greencastle 5, 6 years ago. So it probably has been about 4 years since we've met, because the
Mhm.
first year, new house, you know, heat goes on and off, wood floors, they creak and stuff, and pictures fall off the wall. Sure, okay. But it was always
Maybe
there.
I didn't put them up enough.
Yeah. Well, because I do rent and it was supposed to be used with command strips. And so
Sure.
I thought, I don't have enough command strips on, or I got the wrong kinds or whatever. But then I did my research and I made sure I would even double up on them. And I have them throughout the entire house. But it was in the dining room where these pictures would fall out. Just, it wouldn't matter how many times I put it back, renew command strips, they would fall off. And I would always hear knocking. And again, at first thought, heat, whatever, learning the new house and stuff. But this was not your normal knocking. It was very adamant. It was seemed more out in the living room, but then I could, it seemed closer too. So it was weird because I felt like it was elsewhere, but it was still near me. And then
Right.
lights so flicker a lot. Again, oh well, maybe I just need to change the light bulbs. Like, I always tried to debunk it, I guess they said.
Yep.
But I'm like,
Rational it out.
how to figure this, and it would get really weird because the lights in my daughter's room was the most active. And
Mm.
at point it was like a little running joke or whatever. I thought it was a running joke, but I think it might have been more than what it was. But my daughter would always like kind of talk to it in a sense, and
Right?
it
Right?
in response. So then I was like, that's not just a light bulb going off. There's something more.
Yeah. Something
It
else is going on.
or the whole house one night was just knocking like crazy, just to the point where I was freaked out and I didn't know what to do. And luckily, I had a neighbor who was kind of familiar with what was kind of going on, also open to, a good believer of the other side and things that go bump. And I end up calling her because I'm sitting on my porch and I'm like, I don't know what to do. Like, I don't want to go in there. I don't know if it's friendly, if it's not, how many, like, and told. And of course, this was prior to you to go in there and basically cuss it out and just
Yeah.
say, and at that point,
Yeah.
I want to do that because if it was a bad thing, I didn't want to make it matter. But I
How
did
how do you fight something you can't see?
no. To cuss this thing out? No. I
No, I
just
don't think so.
bedtime, we're going to bed. Please be quiet. And it stopped the rest of the night. So I was like, okay, I need help because I don't know what to do. I don't know any, like, I've never experienced this before. And luckily,
Mhm.
you did. Walked into the studio, and I was like, okay, I'm going to tell you because I don't think you're going to look at me like I have two heads like everybody else in this office is right now.
Right? Right? Yeah, well, it's surprising how when you try and talk to other people about what's going on in your house, that they're like, it's a new house. She's
Yeah,
afraid of the dark. But you had things that were happening. And if memory serves me right, didn't you have a picture actually taken off of the wall and like placed on the dining room table? It didn't just fall off the wall.
it was
Yeah.
like, and there's no way, there was no wind, the windows weren't open, there just
Right.
been like that. And I think what got really more concerned is when my daughter started acting differently and
Yeah.
drawing pictures and saying things about needing to give her baby dolls funerals, which at this point at her age, she hadn't experienced that. She
Yeah.
really wasn't aware of that sort of stuff. So that's where it got really scary for
Yeah,
me.
kind of scary. Yeah, yeah, because you want to protect your child, but how do you protect it from protect them? I shouldn't say it. How do you protect them from something that you can't
Um,
see, have no idea what it is, and maybe I'm just going crazy, you know?
because every night when I'd go to sleep, besides hearing the knocking, that would be further out in the living room. The minute I closed my eyes, it didn't matter what time it was, my TV would crack 3 times. Crack. You know how sometimes it can make that little, like, I know when you had the old boob tubes, they would crack a little bit.
Yeah,
I mean, TVs, I didn't think they had that process to be able to crack. Like sometimes the temperature
I
can
don't have the
maybe,
tubes anymore. Yeah.
right, but it would crack 3 times, no matter whenever I shut my eyes at night. I'm like, okay, who's
Mhm,
in? My water bottle always
mhm.
stuck with water bottles. I only used like bottle
Right?
bottles. Like, because plastic
Right?
bottles, they can do that too if you push them a little bit, and they expand. But no, it was like, okay, don't
Okay.
want to.
Yeah. Well, yeah, and I mean it can be scary. I remember when you talked to me about it, I asked you some significant questions because if it was negative, I wasn't coming.
You told me that, hey, I don't mind coming and checking out, but I'm going to, if I touch your house or sit in the car and met whatever your process was, and if I'm not coming in, I'm going to drive right away. And I'm like, understand. I respect that.
Yeah.
Who I call.
You Yeah, well, and when I think about that, when people call me to like come and see what's going on in their house, and I tell them that, I think, if I'm that person in the house, and I have somebody coming over and they drive away, what's that mean? But you know, but it's always an afterthought. Oh, it's okay for me to go in. But yeah, I'll touch the house, I'll meditate. I call in Archangel Michael to make sure that I'm protected, that this is a place that I can be in. Because if I walk in and something is thrown at me or something tells me to get out, I'm out.
Yeah.
Sorry. Good
Yeah.
luck. But I got a person who deals with that kind of stuff, but it's not me.
And that's anybody else being affected. Like I'd had some friends and like I kind of told very few. Not, I didn't want to because I
Mhm.
want not to come to my house because they think they're, and they would say, oh, they would hear things and be like, I'm like, that's it. You hear that? Yeah, I heard that. I was like, okay, so that's what I hear. So you hear it too. So it wasn't just,
It's not just me.
yeah.
Yeah, I have a friend of mine when he was actually on the podcast a couple weeks ago that he was talking about when he was first connecting to spirit, but he didn't know that he was. He kept hearing a name and it kept, Daniel, I think it was Daniel is here and I need to talk to Scott and his name was Scott and he was like, I'm I'm Scott. You know, but he didn't know why this person from the other side was connecting to them. And I remember when I first came in and there was so much energy and so much spirit that was in there. I remember asking you if your house was built on a graveyard, if you knew about that. And I mean, I lived in Greencastle all my life and never knew of a graveyard in that area. But you had found out, didn't you contact town hall or something and found out that in fact there was?
Well, there is actually still one that's like down at the end of the block from me. But then we went through old records online and
Hmm.
through stuff, and there looks like there used to be one that was kind of like diagonal across the street back in
Hmm.
days of days, and so
Right?
there, because
Yeah.
that was the my neighbors used to say that they would see shadows and they had light flickerings too in their basement, and then the neighbor to the other side of me because I'm thought wait a minute because we started talking about because at one time I'm like, okay, I gotta see here, and then I didn't want to be the crazy neighbor either. But then the neighbor beside of me said that they don't go to their basement. They do not go to the basement. They're very feeling in their basement, and they just don't go into the basement. So I'm like, that's why I was like, all right, I gotta research this more because this sounds like land because this house was built in the 50s, and there has been
Right.
passing. It was just a lot.
It was a lot of stuff going on. I know. And I did a series of different things. I had the dowsing rods and I had my pendulum with me and my singing bowl and I just wanted to feel the energy that was in the house. And when we get back here in a minute, we're going to talk about some of the things that came up while walking around the house that were kind of interesting. And if I remember correctly, I didn't go in the basement either. When you said about your neighbors don't go, I don't think I went in the basement.
Yeah.
But guys, if this is something that you want to share with people that have had things going bump in their night, now's a good time to hit that share button on Bold Brave Media. But hang out with us, and we will be back in a minute.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays 10 a.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network, and tune in radio as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com. Radio show host and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Welcome back to Connecting to Spirit. I am your host and your connection to spirit, Evidential Medium Stacey Niedentohl, and we are talking about things that go bump in the night. I have my dear friend with me, Stacey Haynes, aka Nasty Bob from Bob Rocks. If you think the voice is familiar, it is. This is Nasty Bob. So before we took a break, we were just talking about, kind of what led up to me coming into the house. And I remember, and, correct me if I'm wrong, and I want to hear what your memories are as well. But I remember when I first came in and I was I guess it's like the living room, and over to the right, like in the corner, I felt this presence of a little girl. Was there a fireplace there or something? I can't remember. And and she told me her name was Rose. So, we just, kind of talked to Rose a little bit to try and find out why she was there and who she was. And, we walked around through the dining room into the kitchen, and it was almost like she was leading me in that direction. And I felt like someone was behind me,
I
and
remember
she
you
didn't want me to turn around. You remember that?
or something.
Yeah.
She
And yeah, she didn't want me to turn around, and when I turned around anyway, then she wouldn't look at me afterwards. She stood there in front because she was mad at me
because you didn't
because I
listen
had
to.
turned around. I didn't listen to her, and it felt like it was a male figure behind me that didn't feel like he had the same type of energy as she did. And I don't remember him being back again like that. I could feel him except for when we were there in the kitchen. But it was funny how I mean, she was a little girl, but it was almost like, I had to apologize to her for not listening, but I needed to know who was behind me,
And
you
I think
know.
you came back around to kind of help a little bit more. If I remember,
Yeah. 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 Well, if something's behind me,
you're gonna like what? Like,
yeah. Yeah, but yeah, she didn't for some reason she didn't want me to turn around, and I got the instinct that maybe it was her father, if I remember correctly, that it was her father, and I don't know if she was afraid she was going to get in trouble or something. But we walked throughout the house, and then we walked into your daughter's bedroom, and oh my gosh.
and see, that
There
was
was
the most.
so
I
I'm
mean,
sorry, go ahead.
her lights would blink constantly. I mean, all the time. And there was always an eerie feeling, which you're going to mention is the closet. She
Mhm.
always wanted it shut, and then of
Mhm.
course having her own. I don't want to say issues, but yeah, she was having her own issues with
Mhm.
light and the drawings and stuff. I mean, I could share them. You would wonder because they were very out there. They were unlike a young girl
Right.
drawings. And the way she would even
Correct, correct.
was like,
Yeah, well, and kids that are like under the age of 12, and it might be under the age of 11, it might be under the age of 13, but in around that 12 age, before that, they're still very much connected to the spirit world. So they are more in tune with spirit. And in her closet or in that area, there was so much young energy that I remember I was like, whoa, it was just overwhelming. And I don't know if at that point I had asked if you were on a cemetery, but it felt like an orphanage filled with children's spirits. And I invited them to go to the light. And I do remember you saying, it's okay if you stay here, but you can't like freak out my little girl. You can't freak us out. You have to behave, basically. And I do remember after I did that, the room did feel lighter. And I don't know how long it was after that um, that your daughter started feeling a little bit more comfortable in that room, but it was kind of crazy. And all they wanted to do was play with a little girl because that's who they were. And because your daughter is, that's where I was starting to go. I lost my train of thought because your daughter is still part of that connection to the spirit realm. Like she could feel it, but not being able to see it. Like her little human mind was going, what?
Hmm.
And whatever this energy was that was behind me that Rose didn't want me to see did not feel positive to me. Um, so whether that energy was bothering her or not, I don't know. Had she ever talked about seeing or feeling anyone?
She's not necessarily actually. She would kind of say she maybe saw something, but then she wasn't really sure. Like that kind of like out of the sight. Your peripheral vision or
Hmm.
something.
Hmm.
Um, she never ever said like she was talking with anybody or like anybody was communicating with her. It didn't seem like, but I definitely
Hmm.
felt definitely felt because she would come and just sleep with me because she did not want to be in that room. And I
Right.
understand why, you have your this beautiful room with all these toys, like, and she wanted to
Hmm.
sleep with that room.
Yeah. Well, she didn't know what was going on. And if they were flicking lights or making some type of noise or, she felt their energy. Because I know, like I said, as soon as I walked in that corner where the closet was, I don't want to say all the spirit was hiding in the closet, but in that area, I was just like, wow, there's a lot of energy here.
I
And
remember going, there's a lot of kids in that closet. I was like,
yeah, yeah. Yeah, where? Yeah, right? Where? Yeah. It was interesting for me. I mean, I've cleared houses before or blessed them, but to have that much energy in that small of an area. And, kids are more sensitive than what we are. So what I was feeling, she was probably feeling it even 10 times more, you know. And if she didn't say that they were communicating with her, maybe she didn't, but didn't you say that she felt like she needed to have a funeral for her dolly?
did say that once. She had the
Yeah.
doll down, and I thought that was weird. And then she explained, and she had it then covered up with a blanket, and I was like, well, that's kind of wrong. And she's like, and piled like stuff on piled on top, so like it was buried. And she
Hmm.
said, like and I felt like that's when she said like I was told that I need to have a funeral for her.
Okay. Yeah.
I don't
So
know, and she just didn't
Mhm.
understand. Like, was she dreaming this? Was it, I don't know.
Yeah,
And maybe
well, even if she was dream,
they're like, hey, if you bury me, then I'll go away, I guess. I don't know.
I'll
Or
go
maybe
away. I don't know. I don't know. But when we dream, that's where spirit can enter into our subconscious too and talk to us and communicate. So if they were talking to her through her dreams, she may just have thought she was having a dream,
and
and may not have. I'm
she
sorry,
would
she would what?
also wake up a lot. So there
Okay.
was, yeah, that 2 o'clock hour, about
Yeah.
anytime between
Yeah.
first
Between two and Yeah, they say between 2 and 3 is the bewitching hour. And I'm like, oh my gosh, who said that? You know,
Yeah,
spirit will come whenever they can,
yeah, and
you
that's
know?
true too. But it seemed like it was like
Yeah,
2:30 to somewhere in that 2 o'clock, 1:30 to 2:30 hour. She was up about something.
yeah. Well, our REM sleep is in 4-hour cycles. So that's when you're in your deepest sleep. So let's say she goes to bed at 8 o'clock. So between 8 and 12, you've got that 9, 10 hour or 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock where she's really deep into it. And then coming in 12, she's starting to come out of it. And then 1, 2, she's back down deep into it again. So, phoom, they could just kind of come in and say, hey, we want to play. We want to talk to you. You're the same as us, you know? And it can be freaky for kids. I mean, it was freaky for me, you know?
Told you, but I did have a friend that stayed the night and she slept in her room, and and it was weird too because I figured my daughter's just you know how kids they just all over the place, you know, sleeping
Right.
weird and stuff's everywhere, and that would be
Mhm.
typical. Like all of her toys or stuffed animals would be on the floor in the morning. I just figured it was her. So when my friend stayed the night there one night, she said like all the blankets were off of her, like everything, and she's not that type of a sleeper, and she was very confused in the morning how it was just like it was just her laying there in the bed, like there was nothing around
Yeah.
her. Pillows, blankets all gone.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
the
I
kids,
mean, it's strange. Yeah. It's strange how spirit will make themselves known to certain people. I mean, why would they take the sheets off? You know, who knows? But there was an adult in the room, you know, so that's different from having a kid in the room.
like
Um, oh, you keep bleeping out. I'm sorry. What did you say?
probably were like, "You're an adult, get out of here. This is a kid's room."
It's a kid's room. Yeah. Yeah. And, it would be interesting. I don't know if you ever looked into like um, the cemetery that was there, if there was a little girl who had passed by the name of Rose.
I think I tried to research the doc, you know, like but it was a lot and too much. I don't think I ever got an official
Yeah.
rose there. I was even trying to see maybe a middle name or something, or
Right.
uh,
Right.
yeah,
Well, you had a lot going on at the time. You had things falling off your wall. You had, your little girl running into your bedroom, planning funerals, lights flickering, knocks,
I
you
even
know.
felt wind on my leg one night when I was asleep. I was starting to fall after the 3 clicks of the TV, and I was just laying
Mhm.
here. Someone sat down on the side of my bed and just kind of like put their hand on my leg and just rested, like was like, "You're like, you know what I mean? Like you're okay or whatever." And then
Yeah.
I always would feel this too. Just
Y- Yeah, spirit likes to mess with the hair.
ugh.
Well, it's
And
that energy thing.
I have a
And
lot
you've
of
got
crazy,
that curly.
so there could be a spider
Mhm.
in there. I don't know.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, I mean it's people think that it's uncommon to have something like this happen, and it really isn't. I mean, it really isn't uncommon, but I feel like people think it's uncommon because nobody wants to talk about it, you know?
And I do because I was like, I'm
Mm.
I'm crazy, and I'm not. But how do you do a call? You know, who do you get? Like, definitely, Stacey.
An exterminator. Yeah, there's not like there's an exterminator that can come and get rid of all of that, and exactly. Do I need someone to come in and do an exorcism? Do I need a house blessing? What do I need? So, it's not something that I do a lot. It's not something that I promote that I do, but I've done quite a few clearings, but yours was the most interesting. And we're going to take, a quick break. And when we get back, we're going to talk a little bit more to my friend Stacey about the things that go bump in the night. And hang with us. Share, like, subscribe here on Bold Brave Media. We'll be right back.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success, as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers, as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays, 10 a.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network, and tune in radio as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Okay, welcome back. I am Evidential Medium Stacey Niedentohl, your connection to spirit during this hour on Connecting to Spirit. I have my dear friend Stacey Haynes with me. So you're talking to the two Stacys tonight, and we're talking about the things that go bump in the night. So before the break, we were just talking a little bit about some things that were happening in her daughter's room, and I just want to talk a little bit more about that. Stacey, are you there?
Here.
Oh, there
Hey.
she is. So I wanted to talk a little bit, we were talking about, how kids are real sensitive to certain things, but I wanted to bring something up that it's just like when we were on break there that I thought about when we first moved into this school. Now we have two Chihuahuas, but I had a Chihuahua before, Spike. He was a little old man. He passed away when he was like 17 years old. And when we would be up in the shop, he would run to this one corner and he would just bark like crazy. Now he was going deaf and blind, and I remember looking at him and going, "Buddy, there's nothing over there. Everything's okay." But I was in the shop one night, what was like 2 o'clock in the morning. I couldn't sleep. My husband and I live here, and I was separating clothes, and I was behind like where the cash register was, and I had my back to the corner where Spike was barking, and I heard like footsteps. And I turned around, nothing was there, and I went back to, what I was doing. And I heard him again. And I remember I turned around and I thought, oh my gosh, I'm freaking myself out. It's 2 o'clock in the morning. I'm in this big old school building. My mind's going, off to Neverland. And Lori had something hung up like on a hook in that corner. It was lifted up off the hook and it fell. And I remember turning around and going, all right, I'm out. I get it. I'm leaving. And it's funny because it was about 2 o'clock in the morning.
See?
Yeah. Yeah. It was about 2 o'clock. It was about 2 o'clock in the morning.
How
So I
about that?
feel like we we've all had some type of experience, but we humanize it where we think, you know what, I'm just really tired and I'm hearing things. Or, we'll be out somewhere and you feel like somebody's behind you and you turn around and nobody's there. So, we invited all this. young energy to go to the light. And I feel like a lot did, but it seemed like it was getting better, but not 100%. Is that right?
That is
And I have yeah, yeah, I have a friend of mine that when I have clients that call me that have things that are being thrown at them or they wake up with scratches, and I call my good friend Sue in because Sue breaks mm, those connection to the earthly realm and allows them to connect to the light for whatever reason. And Sue and I did like a review going into your house, but you were also involved with that because I don't know if we were on Zoom,
we did a Zoom
but we
call.
were just, yeah. And I remember at one point Sue saying, "Oh, do you see that?" And I'm like, "No, I don't see that." And she goes, "He's for me." And she took care of that. And then there was something that I saw that she didn't see. And I'm like, "Oh, that one's for me." I only work in love and light, and not that other entities are not filled with love and light, but their energy has gotten tangled up or twisted up. And she's really good at sending them healing and allowing them to go
Um,
on to the other realm. Where if it freaks me out, I'm done. And I know that sounds weird because I talk to the dead all the time. But seriously, if I were somewhere and something would be thrown at me, I'm gone.
I don't blame you.
So, yeah, right? When Jeff and I were in New Orleans a couple years ago, we were in this back alley and we were walking like parallel to Bourbon Street. And I said to him, "We need to get out of here." And he goes, "No, no, we're good." I'm like, "No, no, no, you don't understand. We need to get out of here. Something's wrong with my energy." And he's like, "Okay." And he just kind of like grabbed my arm and got me out of the place that we were. But what I mean, what did you it's funny for me to sit back and think about like what you experienced while you were watching or hearing Sue and I do what we were doing.
I was like flabbergasted and in all, and like, oh my gosh, are you serious? All this stuff is in my house, and what? Because you guys were literally, because I was on the Zoom and I was basically just listening because you guys were working, and you were literally like walking through my house. And you're like, okay, we're in the living room now. And then you're like, okay, there's this, there's that. I got it. Okay. All right. Well, let's go over here to the dining room. Like, and you were like, and I could visually see you guys, like, if you were really walking through my house and you were literally going through the house. And then when you got to the basement, I was like, I think I might have to move if you guys don't get this out of here.
What happened in your basement? You told me something about a balloon. Was
There
there a
had been,
balloon?
when we moved in, I had my daughter's fifth birthday. She's going to be 11 this year. You guys came, what, 2 years ago now, I guess?
Yeah, I was thinking she was 7 or 8 years old.
This
Yeah.
balloon has blown up
Mhm.
the entire time. All the other ones gone. And this is just a really light latex, like cheapy, had confetti in it balloon, one of those. And it never went down. Just stayed up in the basement the entire time. Never went down.
Mm,
So
yeah.
we wouldn't get near the balloon. And I was afraid to pop it because I figured someone must like it or want it because it's still there. And you have to think,
We'll leave it a
it's a regular basement, like, so it's freezing, the temperature, I've got the washer and dryer down there. So how does that stay? Like, you can't get
yeah.
balloons or at the party store and they're done by the end of the party nowadays.
Yeah, well, especially when it's cold. Helium contracts and goes away. And I think, and it's so funny, but I don't watch horror movies anymore or anything like that. But it's so embedded in my head with like Amityville Horror. like that hole, that vortex that was in the basement. And for some reason, when we remotely were in your basement, I could see like faces on the floor or in the carpet or something. And I remember telling you about that, and you were like, "Oh my God, I saw something like that." Am I thinking right? Or was that Sue?
That was me. So I used to take my phone down there, and I always had heard like if you Snapchat and you put the filters on, if you put it the other way with the filter on, it's supposed to catch, your face and put the filter on.
Mhm.
And I would always do that throughout the house, and I would have the filter faces everywhere. And so I one time I went down to the basement, so I had done that. So there had been, and it would double them. There would be a little small one, there would be a big one, and I was down there because I think my daughter had been just down there and she had ran back upstairs, and I went back down to do something, and I look, and there is a dot and a straight line, like a face, like a mad face. And it looked like almost like chalk. Like I thought maybe she took chalk to the carpet and went like this, and made a. And as I'm
Mhm.
standing there, it's literally disappearing in front of my face. And I had my phone out and I took a video of it really, really quick. And I got it. And you can see
Yeah.
disappearing in front of me. And then, of course, me again trying to debunk it. I'm checking the
Mhm.
shadows, the curtains, the sun. I mean, they're small basement windows, so there's not much sun that gets in there anyway. But I'm could not recreate this at all. But yeah, there was a smiley face on my carpet. Well,
Yeah.
mad.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember when Sue and I remotely went down the basement and we were seeing things, and then when we finished, you were like, "Oh my God, I just have to tell you something." And I don't know if you showed that to me then on your video, but it was
That's
so weird how the faces were and and it was almost like a balloon, like it was like floating around on the floor. And Sue was like, "Oh, if you see that, that must be a good guy." And I remember you saying, "I don't want that person in my house." So we were like, "Okay." So we, invited them to the light, and hopefully you haven't had any issues with them. But
our
it's so interesting to me how you know, you go to these oh, metaphysical ghost hunts, and there's spirit and there's energy that is in these homes or in these buildings that can be released, but nobody wants to release them. And I think that's sad. It's like keeping a dog in a cage. And I don't mean that spirit's a dog, but you know what I mean? So, uh, anytime I think about, oh, well, maybe I'll go on a ghost hunt, but then I'm gonna say, you know what, you're invited to the light. Go, 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 go.
yeah.
You know? So since Sue and I went through your house, have you had any new occurrences? How have things been?
Things have been really, really quiet for a good time. And I do want to mention the one thing that Sue had said that freaked me out during the call,
Okay.
and said that they were little things that were bouncing all around, and she used a term like they looked kind of like trolls, and she had never seen anything
Right.
like that before, so that was new to her. And I was like,
Yes.
I new to you in my house. What is that?
What do I do with that?
What do I do
Oh
with
my
the
God.
troll? I thought they only stayed under bridges. Like, why are they in my basement?
Yeah. Right. Well, and it's funny because I don't know that they were exactly trolls, but I
They're
feel like they presented that
yeah,
way, and that was the only thing that she could think of to say. Sue is very um visual, I guess,
yeah,
and she wanted to give you a word that you could imagine what she was seeing,
yeah. Because she's like,
whether you wanted to. Yeah,
they
yeah, whether you wanted to or not. But I totally forgot about that until you told me about it. Because it's been a couple of years since we've been in there. But I mean, has the house been quieter? Do you still feel like Rose is there or anyone is still there?
I don't. it feels much better until recently because I have two cats now. So I'm also trying to debunk some of this because I have a newer cat and Oreo, who I've had for a while. And I think Oreo was here. I don't know if Oreo was here when you were here. I don't know if I did have a cat then.
Mm,
I have to look back. But they're like you mentioned, like your dog staring up
mhm. Very
ceiling,
sensitive.
and
Yeah.
just out and looking at the wall, and so my daughter will be like, "Oh, there must be a bug up there," and I'm like looking. I'm like, "I don't see a
Okay.
bug."
All right. Well, you know
So
what? Let's talk about that a little bit more when we get back from our break. We're talking about things that go bump in the night. So, like, share Bold Brave Media, connecting to spirit with Stacy. But you know what? Hang with us for the final break, and we will be right back.
Dr. RC will share extraordinary resources and services that promote educational success as well as making a difference in the lives of all social workers as well as the lives of children, adolescents, and teens of today. She will have open discussions addressing many of the issues that we face about our youth and how being employed in the uniquely skilled profession of social work for over 18 years has taught invaluable lessons through her personal experiences. She will also provide real-life facts, examples, and personal stories that will confirm that why serving as a child advocate is extremely beneficial when addressing the needs of the whole child. Listen live to Dare to Soar, Saturdays 10 a.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio as Dr. RC will provide thought-provoking information that will empower, encourage, and strengthen students, families, and communities across our nation. You can also visit her at soarwithkatie.com. Author, radio show host, and coach John M. Hawkins reveals strategies to help gain perspective, build confidence, find clarity, achieve goals. John M. Hawkins' new book, Coached to Greatness, Unlock Your Full Potential with Limitless Growth, published by iUniverse. Hawkins reveals strategies to help readers accomplish more. He believes the book can coach them to greatness. Hawkins says that the best athletes get to the top of their sport with the help of coaches, mentors, and others. He shares guidance that helps readers reflect on what motivates them, rediscover and assess their core values, philosophies, and competencies, find settings that allow them to be the most productive, and track their progress towards accomplishing goals. Listen to John Hawkins' My Strategy, Saturdays, 1 p.m. Eastern on the BBM Global Network and TuneIn Radio.
Welcome back to Connecting to Spirit. I'm Evidential Medium Stacey Niedenthal, and your connection to spirit every Tuesday night at 8 p.m. on Bold Brave Media. And tonight we're talking with my dear friend Stacey Haynes and talking about the things that go bump in the night, the experiences that she had in her home. And during the break, she was reminding me about something that Sue had said. So you want to talk about that?
yeah, because I think why there was so much activity in, especially in general throughout the entire house and especially in the basement, is that she located what she called a portal, and so these spirits were coming in and out. And that's why it was so active. So she mentioned that she was going to seal it up and she was going to move it from my location and find a nice little home back in the woods for them to go play if they wanted to go play and get back out.
Yeah. Yeah, usually if you're moving, this is my experience. Some people may disagree, but usually if you can move a portal, and a portal is just a like a tunnel from this earth to another realm. Doesn't necessarily mean that it's a negative realm. It's just this opening. But I've often heard and found that if you can move them through to water, um, that helps to like cleanse their energy and gives them a place to play and they're in the tree. So, definitely and I had totally forgotten about that. But Sue is so amazing in what she does, and she's always so calm about it. When she says something that I'm like, if somebody told me there's something that looks like trolls in my house, I'd be like, get the fuck out of here. What do you mean there's something in like a troll? What?
And I'm
What?
just sitting there going,
Get them out. But she was like, oh, and she was so calm, cool, and collected about it.
so it didn't make
Yeah.
me
So
more. It was just the words going, what? What is she saying? No, come on. What? But
I
again, yeah,
must have misunderstood.
just so relaxing. It was interesting for what we were going through. It made it I made
Yeah.
me feel because of the way she was presenting it and doing it.
Yeah. Well, and I mean, she connects with that type of energy and spirit all the time. That is that's her passion, or that's her place. And what she does here, she helps displaced spirit find where they need to go, and it can be interesting to watch. Um, and I'm glad that we did it remotely, because if we would have been in the house, I might have been a little freaked myself if she'd you know.
Let me
So,
in.
so, so you were saying that some things are starting to happen again now?
I I'm not for sure, but I feel like there is maybe nothing. There's no knocking. There's
Okay.
well the TV click a little night, but we're gonna just let that go for the heat. Um,
Mhm.
it wasn't three times, so that's why I'm not letting that one. I'm letting that one go. But the cats seem to be very interested in the ceilings and the wall area. Like they're watching something, they're like playing with them. So it's not just like so. I try to look and I've tried to use how they have those apps now for ghost hunting and stuff.
Yes.
And I always wonder like are they
The
real?
spirit boxes.
Yeah. So I have a
Yeah.
little
I don't,
ghost skeleton guy. So I've been trying to
yeah.
like around the house to see if I see little skeleton guys dancing
The little
and
skull. My
up.
God.
Like I don't know. So other than
Okay.
that,
Well,
I don't I don't feel like I did before at all.
right.
Before
Well, and if I can remember correctly too, didn't your granny pass not too long ago? Like at Christmas time or something? She might
so
be making an appearance.
that's what because yeah
And she would give you a different energy feel. It wouldn't be like, oh my God, what the heck's going on? It would feel like home,
yeah
you
that's
know?
why it's like that's why I was
Yeah.
hesitant to tell you about it because I'm like I don't know if this is really
It's the same. Yeah, it's different. And I mean, it's amazing how spirit will get your attention, and you can tell the difference in the energy with that. But, Stacey, I just want to thank you so much for, talking to me about this on the podcast, and, letting it in, or letting out what happened, so that other people know that sometimes when things go bump in the night, it is just a creaky old house. But other times it's a little girl named Rose saying, "Don't turn around." And there are mediums out there that can help, and other psychics that can help to get rid of these things. But, just do your research and know who you're talking to.
and thanks to you Rose is with her mom in the light.
Yeah, perfect, perfect. Well, I couldn't have thought of a better person to talk about this with, because, when you and I met a couple years ago, all of a sudden we just kind of clicked. And then when your great grandmother came in, and then when like, there was a reason why I was put in your path, why, the sales rep that I was dealing with at the time said, you know what, you need to meet Stacy. She spells her name the same way that you do.
But
So we were meant to connect. But, I want to just thank you so much for being on here with us, and thank everybody who has tuned in and listened. And if you have had any type of experiences in your home, feel free to email me about it. I would love to hear about it at connecting to spirit with Stacy at Gmail. And we will see you next week Tuesday night, 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Bold Brave Media, as well as YouTube and Spotify and all other streaming platforms. But I hope that each and every one of you know that, you know what, you need to live the life you love and love the life you live. I will talk to you next week. Thank you, Stacey.
You, Stacey. It's been a pleasure.
This has been Connecting to Spirit with Stacey. Tune in each week as Stacey delves into the journey of life, healing, and spiritual connection, inviting listeners to open their hearts, clear their minds, and create the life they love. Right here, Tuesdays, 8 p.m. Eastern on the Bold Brave TV network, powered by B2 Studios.